What if I told you that the most impressive party trick you could ever learn is 400,000 years old? You don't need any fancy props. There's no sleight of hand, just 2 stones and a bit of fungus. It's a trick so powerful that it didn't just get you applause. It unlocked the human mind. It built civilizations, and it allowed a fragile, clever ape to conquer the planet. This is the secret that let our ancestors crawl out of the dark. It's the moment we stopped being thieves of fire, desperately scavenging from lightning strikes and wildfires, and became masters of the flame. Today, we're not just making fire. We're going to recreate one of the most important moments in human history. The moment we learned to conjure it from nothing.
For most of our evolutionary story, we were at the mercy of the elements.
For early hominins like Homo erectus, emerging as far back as 2 million years ago, fire was a terrifying and awesome force of nature. They were fire users, not fire makers. They were opportunists. When lightning split a tree and set the savanna ablaze, they might have cautiously approached, scooping up a burning branch to carry back to camp. This stolen flame was a precious, life-sustaining resource. It had to be fed, guarded, and kept alive at all costs, because once it went out, who knew when they would find it again?
The archaeological record shows us these early stages. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, there are signs of controlled hearths dating back 1 million years or more. In Israel, at a site called Gesher Benot Yaakov, there's evidence of cooking fish from around 780,000 years ago.
This was a huge step. The ability to control and maintain fire changed everything. Cooking made food more digestible, unlocking more energy and killing harmful bacteria. Many scientists believe this caloric surplus is what helped fuel the dramatic expansion of the human brain. Fire provided warmth, allowing us to survive colder climates.
It provided light, extending our day past sunset. And it provided protection, keeping nocturnal predators at bay.
But for all this, our ancestors were still just keepers of the flame, curators of a natural phenomenon. The real revolution, the moment we truly took control, happened much later.
For a long time, the oldest widely accepted evidence we had for humans creating fire on demand came from Neanderthal sites in France.
Dated to about 5,000 years ago.
Then, an incredible discovery in a disused clay pit in Barnham, England, completely upended that timeline.
Archaeologists unearthed something extraordinary, a 400,000-year-old hearth. This wasn't just a patch of scorched earth from a wildfire. Geochemical analysis showed it had been heated to hundreds of degrees Celsius, and more importantly, it had been used repeatedly in the same spot. And lying right there with heat-cracked flint tools were 2 crucial fragments of a mineral called iron pyrite.
Pyrite doesn't occur naturally at that site, meaning someone carried it there.
In that moment, the known story of human ingenuity was pushed back by an astounding 350,000 years. This discovery at Barnham is the oldest definitive evidence we've found so far of our ancient relatives intentionally making fire.
This is the party trick. This is the moment we became masters.
So, how did they do it? What was the secret that our ancient relatives, likely early Neanderthals, unlocked 400,000 years ago?
The answer lies in a simple, elegant system of percussion.
It's a common misconception, often seen in movies, that you can create a fire by striking two pieces of flint together.
That'll get you nothing but chipped rocks and sore knuckles. The real magic happens when you introduce a third character to the story.
Let's meet the protagonists of our 400,000-year-old drama.
First, we have our striker, a piece of flint.
Flint is a type of microcrystalline quartz that's incredibly hard and, crucially, holds a sharp edge when fractured. This made it the Swiss Army knife of the Stone Age, perfect for everything from spear points to butchering tools.
For our purposes, its hardness and sharp edge are what matter most. Next, our source of sparks, iron pyrite.
This is an iron sulfide mineral, famously known as fool's gold for its deceptive metallic luster. While it might not make you rich, it holds a much more valuable power.
Pyrite is softer than flint, but it has a unique chemical property. When you strike it with something hard, you don't just chip it, you shave off microscopic particles of the mineral.
The intense friction of this impact, combined with the particles' sudden exposure to oxygen, causes them to instantly oxidize. It's a beautifully simple piece of chemistry, a sudden, violent exothermic reaction that unleashes its energy as a brief, intensely hot spark. This was all figured out by people with no concept of chemistry, just keen observation and tireless trial and error. But a spark alone is useless. It's a fleeting moment of heat that vanishes in an instant. To turn that spark into a flame, you need a third, and perhaps the most important, member of our toolkit: tinder. The spark from pyrite isn't as hot or long-lasting as one from modern steel. It's a faint, delicate thing. It needs to be caught in something that can ignite with an incredibly low amount of heat. Prehistoric people were masters of their environment. They knew exactly which materials had this quality.
They would gather what we now call ember extenders. Things like dried fungus, specifically amadou from the horsehoof fungus, Fomus fomentarius, or the King Alfred's cake fungus, are perfect. When processed correctly, this material becomes like a spongy, carbon-rich cloth, exceptionally good at catching and holding a spark.
Other materials, like the fluff from cattails or finely shredded inner bark from trees like cedar, would also be gathered and kept meticulously dry. This tinder is then formed into a loose, airy nest. Think of it as a little bird's nest of highly flammable material.
This structure is key. It allows for maximum airflow, which will be critical later. So, this is our toolkit: the flint striker, the pyrite stone, and a carefully prepared tinder bundle.
These three things, in the right hands, hold the power to change the world. All right, let's put this toolkit to work. This is where knowledge and technique come together in a process that is part science, part art form.
And I've got to be honest, this is hard. It's a skill that takes immense patience and practice.
Our ancestors would have failed countless times before they succeeded. Each failure was a lesson, and each success was a victory for survival. First step, preparation. Your tinder nest is the cradle for your new fire, and it has to be perfect.
You hold it in one hand, or place it on a dry piece of bark directly below where you'll be working. You need to be able to catch the spark the very moment it's born.
Next, you take your two main tools. The flint is in your dominant hand. You need a piece with a good, sharp, 90-degree edge. This isn't about brute force. It's about a clean, shearing strike.
The iron pyrite is held in your other hand, positioned right over the tinder nest.
The technique itself is a specific, downward-glancing blow. You're not trying to smash the rocks together.
Instead, you want to strike the flint edge against the surface of the pyrite at about a 45-degree angle. The goal is to shave or scrape the pyrite with the flint, generating a shower of those tiny, self-igniting iron sulfide particles. You strike down, firmly and quickly, a sharp, scraping sound. You lean in close, eyes fixed on the point of impact. The air fills with the faint, acrid smell of sulfur, like a struck match. That's the smell of progress.
You strike again and again. Your movements are deliberate. Pause between each strike. You are hunting for a spark. Unlike the bright, white-hot sparks from modern steel, these are often faint, dull red or orange. They are so easy to miss. Your entire focus narrows to that tiny point in space where stone meets stone. You watch for that one spark that has a little more life, a little more duration than the others.
The one that arcs gracefully downward and disappears into the fluffy heart of your tinder bundle. This is a dance of precision and hope, a rhythm of strike, watch, and wait, repeated over and over. Your arm starts to ache, your knuckles are raw, but the memory of cold nights and raw food pushes you forward. And then, it happens. A single, promising spark leaps from the stone and vanishes into the nest.
You don't see a flame. You don't even see a bright glow at first.
You see something far more subtle, a tiny wisp of smoke, thin and delicate as a spider's thread, rising from the tinder.
And your heart just leaps. You stop striking immediately. The percussive dance is over. Now,
You lean in, your face close to the nest.
You can smell it now, not just the sulfur from the pyrite, but a new smell, the scent of smoldering plant fiber.
You see it too, a tiny pinprick of orange light, a miniature star being born in the darkness of the tinder.
this is the ember. This is the whole goal of the process. This tiny, glowing coal is the seed of the flame. This is the moment that must have felt like pure magic to our ancestors.
To see life and heat emerge from cold, dead stone and dry plants is a profound experience. This little spark is the physical manifestation of their ingenuity, the reward for all their observation and effort.
You've provided the initial heat with the spark and the fuel with the tinder, and now you just have to add the final ingredient, oxygen. But you can't just blow on it wildly. That would either extinguish the fragile ember or send it flying out of the nest. You have to be gentle.
You bring the tinder bundle up towards your mouth, shielding it with cupped hands.
You begin to blow, but not with a sharp puff. It's a long, slow, steady stream of air, like you're trying to cool a spoonful of hot soup.
You are coaxing it, encouraging it, feeding it the oxygen it craves.
With each breath, the tiny star brightens. The orange glow expands, consuming the fine fibers around it. The wisp of smoke thickens into a steady column. You can feel the heat on your hands now, a living warmth growing from a single point of light.
It's a moment of intense focus and connection, a partnership between you and this nascent fire.
The ember is now alive and growing, a bright, glowing coal nestled in the heart of your tinder. But it's still not a fire.
The final step is to translate this smoldering potential into a self-sustaining flame. Things accelerate now. As the ember grows, you can increase the flow of oxygen. Your gentle breaths become more forceful.
The smoke billows, thick and white, pouring from your cupped hands.
The glowing orange core is now the size of a coin, and its heat is intense. You are right on the edge of ignition.
The tinder bundle is now a self-contained engine of combustion. The growing ember is preheating the fuel around it, bringing it closer and closer to its flash point.
One final, steady blow, and suddenly, whoosh! The smoke and gas erupt into a bright, dancing flame.
For a brief second, you are holding a ball of fire in your hands. It's a moment of pure triumph. You've done it! You have taken cold stone and dead plants and conjured living flame. Quickly, before the tinder bundle consumes itself, you place it into a pre-prepared structure of kindling, small twigs and dry bark shavings.
The new flame greedily licks at this fresh fuel, catching it alight. The fire crackles and pops, growing stronger, more confident.
You add larger sticks, then small logs. Within minutes, you have a stable, roaring fire. You have just performed a 400,000-year-old party trick. But it's so much more than that. You've reconnected with a foundational human technology.
This process, from spark to ember to flame, is what allowed our ancestors to gather in the evenings, to share stories, to plan hunts, and to forge the social bonds that would give rise to language and culture.
The campfire became our first television, our first community center, the very heart of society. While the percussion method with flint and pyrite is the oldest we can definitively prove, it certainly wasn't the only trick our ancestors had up their sleeves.
Human ingenuity is restless.
Over tens of thousands of years, another, equally elegant method was developed, one that relied on a different fundamental force: friction.
The wood-on-wood friction method is what many people picture when they think of primitive firemaking, rubbing two sticks together. And in essence, that's exactly what it is.
The principle is simple. If you grind two pieces of wood together with enough speed and pressure, the friction generates intense heat.
This heat doesn't create a spark. Instead, it chars the wood, creating a fine, black dust. As the temperature of this dust climbs, it eventually reaches its ignition point and glows into an ember.
Doing this with just your hands, the hand drill method, is incredibly difficult and requires specific woods and perfect conditions.
A much more efficient innovation was the bow drill.
The bow drill is a brilliant little machine that uses a bow and string to rotate a spindle at high speed, dramatically increasing the efficiency of friction.
The components are just as specific as in the percussion method. You have the hearth board, a flat piece of dry, soft wood like cedar or...
The bow can be any flexible branch, strung with a piece of cordage. Finally, you need a handhold, or bearing block.
The technique involves looping the bowstring once around the spindle,
Placing the bottom of the spindle into a small depression on the hearth board, and applying firm downward pressure with the handhold. Then, you begin a long, smooth sawing motion with the bow, back and forth. The spindle begins to spin rapidly, grinding into the hearthboard.
Almost immediately, smoke curls from the point of contact. A fine, dark powder begins to accumulate in a notch carved into the side. This is your future ember.
You keep the rhythm going, a steady beat of sawing, maintaining pressure.
The smoke thickens. The smell of hot wood fills the air. You don't stop until that pile of dust is smoking all on its own.
Then, just like with the pyrite method, you have an ember, a glowing coal of superheated wood dust,
ready to be transferred to a tinder bundle and blown into flame.
From a shower of sparks struck from stone to a glowing ember born from the friction of wood, we've recreated the birth of a technology that defines us. The ability to make fire on demand was more than just a survival skill. It was a catalyst for our entire species.
It warmed our bodies, cooked our food, hardened our tools, and expanded our minds.
It gave us the safety of the light to gather at night, to share knowledge, to tell stories, and to look up at the stars and wonder.
It was around these first human-made fires that we truly began to become human.
Today, we conjure flame with the flick of a lighter, a convenience that makes it easy to forget the immense journey of innovation it took to get here. But that knowledge isn't lost. It's encoded in the archaeological record and preserved in the skills of those who keep these ancient arts alive. This 400,000-year-old party trick is a powerful reminder that the most profound technologies are often born from the simplest principles. It's a story of ingenuity, resilience, and the bright, warm spark of an idea that changed the world forever. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, subscribe for more stories about the incredible technologies that made us who we are.